Shalom, shalom. This is the brother Abaya from the JMS Virginia camp, back at it again with another Lord willing edifying lesson. Before I get started, like always, I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua Ba'Shem Rachakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles of great millstone and I learn the truth from. And shalom, peace and blessings goes out to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, sincerely waiting and enduring until the return of Yahweh HaMashiach to deliver us out of this last captivity. I think I'm going to title this video the S word because I had a couple other titles I was thinking about, but we we don't want to offend anybody, and we gotta be wise as a serpent as best as we possibly can, because this devil, he ain't playing fair. He's striking everything, taking down every single thing, so you gotta be wise with your titles. But anyways, I'm touching on the word slavery, because you have these Christians, they get all up in arms and bugged out when they hear the word slavery. Oh my gosh, slavery! They're saying slavery is going to be in the kingdom, right? When that's really not a hard thing to understand. Slavery is nothing new. It's been here. It's here right now. It's going to be here. As the scriptures say. Matter of fact, let me get that real quick in the blue letter. What's that? Ecclesiastes, the first chapter. This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 1, and going straight to the point. The thing that have been, verse 9, the thing that have been is that which shall be. So slavery has been here before. And that which is done is that which shall be done. Slavery is going to come in the future. And there is new thing under the sun. And slavery is happening now. So you got to understand, what doesn't the scripture say? The kingdom of heaven is going to be as on earth as it is in heaven. All right, our Lord, Yahweh Shah, who the world calls Jesus Christ, he's coming back to set up the kingdom on the earth. Every kingdom that's ruled over on the earth has slaves. Slavery, it also brings balance. All right, the scriptures speak about how a false balance to the Most High is an abomination. Right. So whenever you look at any kingdom that has reigned or any empire that has reigned, they've had slaves. They've had servants. Even right now, we're all slaves to the this debt system. All right, this beast system. All right, that was set up, and it thrives off its banking, its financial sector with these central banks. All right, its military that goes throughout the earth conquering every damn body, and its religion. And we've all been indoctrinated and oppressed by this Western society. So you're not in hardcore bondage, but you're still a slave. And slavery brings balance. Somebody has to be on top. Somebody has to be on the bottom. So I don't understand why people think the kingdom of heaven will be any different. Well, I understand because Christianity has taught you that in this case, the kingdom is for everybody that believes upon Jeebus, but that ain't true. The scriptures say there's a time for everything under the sun. Matter of fact, let me get that real quick before I start reading some of this article. Let's go back to the blue letter. Let's go to Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter. And let's start at verse 1. It says, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. To be born, and a time to die, a time to plant, and a time to pluck up that which is planted. People say death is a horrible thing, which the Lord said it's a time for death, which really when you die, you're just sleeping. Because there's a thing called reincarnation, which you come back. So really death ain't as big as people try to make it out to be. But there's a time for death. There's a time to be born. Death is a beautiful thing, and being born is a beautiful thing. It's balance, though. It's balance. Everything is about balance. Verse 3, a time to kill. People will say, well, killing is bad. No, the Lord is saying there's a time for that. A time to kill, and a time to heal, a time to break down, and a time to build up. All right? And basically, I'm just reading this because it's time for the so-called white man's ass to go into slavery. All right? Yeah, it's time for him to go to slavery, all right, for all his wicked deeds that he's done on the face of this planet. So I'm just going to read some of this article here, and it says, why did so many Christians support slavery? But it's ironic that all these Christians that come up against us, they're against slavery in the kingdom, but little do they know Christianity was heavy in slavery. And they understood the scriptures. Now they use it to their advantage, all right? But they understood slavery was very prevalent in the Bible. So this is some of the things, the biblical reasons that they give that Christianity was so heavy, that slavery was so heavy amongst Christians. So let me read this. It says, many Southern Christians felt that slavery, in one Baptist minister's words, stands as an institution of God, which we know that means the Most High Yahweh. Here are some common arguments made by Christians at the time, and they're right. Slavery is an institution of the Most High Yahweh. He put slavery here for a reason. All right, there's a time for that. Okay, and when He sets up certain kingdoms, the scriptures clearly tell you the Most High. Well, man, let me get that. What is that in Psalm 75th chapter? One of my favorite scriptures. Psalm 75th chapter, verse 7, going straight to the point. It says, "But Yahweh is the judge. He put up down one and set up another." So if He set up one and put up down the other one in slavery, in servitude to the one that's up. One is up, one is down. All right. It says, this is some of the reasons Christians upheld slavery. It says, Abraham, the father of faith, and all the patriarchs held slaves without Yahweh's disapproval. That's true. All right. A lot of the forefathers of the nation of Israel had servants, slaves. All right. And the Most High didn't object to that. There's even a law within the brotherhood of the nation of Israel, Yasharallah, that your brother, he can become a servant of you. He can become a lesser slave. He's now, you can't treat him like a heathen slave. But let's say a brother was down and out, right? And he needed some time to get his life together, to get his things in order. He would come work for you and save up money, start get his feet on the ground. He would be a servant unto you. Okay. And then if he wanted to leave, he could leave, and but if he wanted to stay, he will put it all in his ear and stay your servant. All right, but we're coming into the time when the nation of Israel is about to get a kingdom, and the only slaves under them is going to be the heathen nations. All right, it says Canaan, Ham's son, was made a slave to his brothers. The Ten Commandments mention slavery twice, showing the Most High Yahweh's implicit acceptance of it. Okay, and that goes into the nation of Israel, you taking your brother to be a servant or your sister to be a maid servant. Next point they said slavery was widespread throughout the Roman world, and yet Yahushua never spoke against it. And see, this is a thing Christians don't really ever focus on, that when you go into ancient Rome, slavery was very popular. You watch shows like Spartacus or any ancient Roman show, they're going to show you that people had servants and slaves. It was a very common thing. So when the Lord, Yahushua, who the word ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, I don't even like saying that name, but they ignorantly call him, that J word. When he came, there were slaves all over the place, and some of those slaves wanted to be followers of him, but they had to still be subject to their masters. All right, even though. Matter of fact, it's going to say in this next point. It says the Apostle Paul specifically commanded slaves to obey their masters. Matter of fact, let me get that. What is that? Let me get the precept they got for that. Ephesians, what is it? Ephesians 6. It is. It says, this is Ephesians chapter 6, verse 5. Servants, be obedient to them that are your masters, according to the flesh, with fear and trembling, and singleness of your heart, as unto Yahushua HaMashiach. All right. So you had servants that were, had masters that wanted to be part of the body, that wanted to serve the Lord, and that's okay. Just like the Lord said to the southern kingdom, Judea, when he came, he was like, look, y'all still supposed to serve the Most High, but you still got to render unto Caesar what's Caesar's. There's that balance. So you got to find that middle ground, to where you still serving the Lord but still obeying the powers that be. The Lord speaks. That's just how it is. Matter of fact, let me what is that in Romans? Yeah, another one of my favorite scriptures, Romans the 13th chapter. And I just recently did a video about what is a kingdom on my other channel, because you got to understand what a kingdom is. A kingdom is a nation, a group of people that's ruling, that's reigning on the earth, that has other nations in subjection. But this is the scripture I want to hear. This is Romans chapter 13, verse 1. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of Yahweh. The powers that be are ordained of Yahweh. that ties into what I read in Psalms 75 verse 7. He putteth up one and setteth down another. So you got to be subject unto the government that's reigning, the kingdom that's reigning, whether it was Babylon, the Medo-Persians, the Greeks, the ancient Romans, America, Europe, wherever you are. Because verse 2, because it's ordained of the Most High Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. Nothing happens on this earth without it being ordained from the Most High Yahweh. That's why he is the Most High. It says, whoever therefore resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of Yahweh, and they that resist shall receive themselves damnation. That's why people end up getting put to death, end up getting locked up, because they resisting the powers that the Most High set up. He set up a kingdom. So if he set up a certain kingdom, that means that kingdom is... You ain't fighting against that kingdom. You fighting against the Most High Yahweh, because he has them in power right now. So you're in servitude to that nation. You have to pay taxes. You have to work your 9-to-5s and obey these laws that they set up, and be a good citizen. But in our kingdom, the kingdom of heaven, the tables are going to be turned. The rest of you nations are going to be subject to the laws, statutes, and commandments. How about Shema Shah? The Israelites are going to reign on the earth. And if you resist in that day, you're going to receive unto yourself damnation, because the kingdom of heaven is going to be the kingdom that gets set up there. Right? Yeah, that's the point I want to let. So let's go back to another point that they stated. It says the Apostle Paul specifically commanded slaves to obey it. I read that one. It says Paul returned a runaway slave back to his master. Oh, matter of fact, I pulled that up in the book of Philemon, because there's actually an example of that. And I pulled it up on this little article here on legionary.org. This is the verse they quote. It says, "I'm sending him back to you." Let me get it in the. Let me get it in the. Let me get it in the King James. What is that? Verse 11. Yeah. Let me read verse 10. It says, "I beseech thee for my son Onesimus, whom I have begotten in my bonds, right, which in times past was to thee unprofitable, but now profitable to thee and to me, whom I have sent again. Thou therefore receive him, that is mine own bowels, right, whom I would have retained with me, that in thy stead he might have ministered unto me in the bonds of the gospel. But without thy mind would I do nothing, that thy benefit should not be as it were of necessity, but willingly." Right? "For perhaps he therefore departed for a season, that thou shouldest receive him forever, not now as a servant, but above a servant, a brother beloved, specifically to me, but how much more unto thee, both in the flesh and in the Lord." So he's saying he's not just your servant anymore. He's a servant of the Lord. So it's just an example of how you had servants, actual, what you would call, slaves, servants, manservants, to other men, fleshly men that also want to serve the Lord. So it's just showing you that slavery always happened. All right, you have followers that were slaves. I mean, that word shouldn't be a big, huge thing. But Christians look, hey, this westernized, effeminate spirit, oh, there cannot be slavery in the kingdom of heaven. Well, you don't understand the prophecies. And you don't understand the way that the Most High has life run on the earth. The way he's had life run on the earth is through a nation ruling, and the rest of the nations subject to that nation. And the difference between the kingdom of heaven is all nations, because certain kingdoms didn't have rule over every single nation. You had rebellions, but in the kingdom of heaven, which I'm going to wrap it up with one of the prophecies that talk about that, but in the kingdom of heaven, all nations are going to be subject to the nation of Israel. But I'm going to read a little bit on this. It says, "The apostles lived under the first century Roman economy, a system in which slavery was foundational." Right? It was, that was one of the building blocks, just like America. That's why America is the ancient Roman Empire. It says estimates vary, but the slave population in the Roman Empire was enormous. As many as a third of any citizen's residents were enslaved. Moreover, it was not only the rich who owned slaves, but also those of lesser means. Right? So it just shows you that slavery is just a part of life. It's just a part of how life is ran, how the Most High set it up on the earth, man. Let me see if there's any. So these points here that you're seeing in this article is why these plantation Christianity slave owners justified their actions, because they understood that slavery was part of the Bible, which is true. But see, they didn't understand that Christianity was a false religion created by Roman Catholicism. It's a branch off of Roman Catholicism, and just a mixture of other pagan ideologies that really stem back to Egypt, and it's a mixture of Babylonian gods and goddesses. It's just a whole bunch of paganism, all right, which goes back into the Roman Emperor Constantine and all this Sunday worship, and it had nothing to do with the relationship between the nation of Israel and their power Yahweh. Christianity has nothing to do with the Bible. Let me see. Let me read here. It says social reasons. It says, just as women were called to play a subordinate role, right, which we know women are supposed to be under their men. They're supposed to look at their men as their lords, lesser lords to the Lord, of course, to the Most High. Men are lesser lords to the Most High, but they're still Lord over their wives, right? It says, so slaves are stationed by the Most High in their place. So just like people look at, what do you mean a woman's supposed to be in her place? Her place is under her husband. It's just like slaves are under their master. And that's how life is going to be ran in the kingdom. It's no different. Women are going to be under their husbands, and the slaves are going to be under their masters, right? It says, slavery is the Most High's means of protecting and providing for an inferior race. Yeah, so this is just, some of the reasons they believed in upholding slavery. Yeah, so that's pretty much it on that I want to get on that. Let me get Isaiah the 60th chapter real quick. I'm about to wrap this up soon. Let me see. I want Isaiah 60. Yep. Let me start at verse 10. This is Isaiah 60 verse 10. It says, and the sons of strangers, this is speaking about when the kingdom of Israel, kingdom of Yahweh shall set up on the face of the earth. And the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. That word minister means to serve. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor I had mercy on thee. Right? The Lord allowed his people to go into slavery. And that's another thing. The Lord allowed his people, his chosen people, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans go into slavery. What the hell you think about to happen to the rest of you nations? I mean, be logical here. Verse 11. Therefore thy gate shall be open continually. They shall not be shut day nor night, that men may bring unto thee the forces of the Gentiles, and that their kings may be brought. Right? For the nation and kingdom that will not serve thee shall perish, yea, those nations shall be utterly wasted. And that goes into what I read in Romans. Be subject unto the higher powers, or receive unto yourself damnation. Most High gonna set us up in that day. Let me drop down to verse 14. It says, the sons also of them that afflicted thee shall come bending unto thee, and all they that despise thee shall bow themselves down at the soles of thy feet. And they shall call thee the city of the Lord, the Zion of the Holy One of Israel. All right, the monument, the government of the Holy One of Israel. All right, Yasharallah. Let me get Revelation the 2nd chapter and then wrap this up. So let's get Revelation the 2nd chapter and read verse 26 or verse 25. So it says, but that which ye have already hold fast till I come. What's that? This truth, this knowledge, all right, that you've been blessed with through the mercy and blood of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. Verse 26, and he that overcometh and keep my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations. And he shall rule them with a rod of iron, as the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I received of my Father. So in his kingdom, in the Lord's kingdom, he's going to rule over the nations, and he's going to allow his men that he's chosen to rule over the nations. So yeah, I just want to touch on that. Hopefully that was edifying. Until next time I say, Shalom.